Hello, dear friends and family. Perhaps my family's on here, who knows? This may... I always forget about that. Dude, it's so funny. I've been doing that since for a year now when I take these videos. Oh, and it always makes me, whenever that happens, it makes me think of friend Zizzle, Franzi, a friend of mine in my vlogs on my other channel, if you've wandered over there, or if they're on this channel. I don't actually remember. I hella could have crossed right now. That's okay though. But yes, I may or may not post this video. Here we go. Whoa! But I felt compelled to start it and to start kind of talking about it. I have some thoughts that have been on my mind for years, and I hope to articulate them and kind of put them all together. And I hope that the ego and my own self-image doesn't get in the way during this discussion, because it certainly could, depending on the things that I end up talking about. But again, this may be a practice video. This may not be. Either way, it doesn't matter too much. I'll just get right into it. So I wanted to create a message to those born rich, because I think the problems that you have if you're born rich are very unique, and it's not a set of problems that people really talk about. And I think people almost want to act as though those who are born rich have it so easy that, oh, they've got no problems, they don't want to. But again, it's, you know, a rare individual who actually experiences the problems of the wealthy. And I think the wealthy are able to run from those problems their entire life. And I think there's a reason people kind of shit on those who are born rich, because they have all these problems and they never deal with these problems. And because they never deal with their own problems, they aren't able to go out and deal with the problems of the world. But those who are born wealthy, should they be able to deal with their own problems, are born into a position where they are the most capable of actually going out and dealing with the problems of the world. And I think as someone who's born rich, it's like you have a responsibility to do that. And maybe you don't have a responsibility to, that might be kind of abstract, but you have a good opportunity to. You have an opportunity to live an unbelievably fulfilling life. And you're saved from a whole world of potential problems because of just dumb luck, because you just happen to pop out of the world in this excellent position with wealth, with money, with opportunity. And however, if you don't solve the problems that come with being born rich, you won't be able to access any of that, and instead you will live your life in a hell of your own creation, and you will create a hell for those around you. And it's a horrible fate, and it's one that many, I think, wealthy individuals fall into, and I don't think many people are showing them the way out. I don't think many people know the way out, and those who do know the way out aren't exactly going out and preaching it, although perhaps they are. And I certainly wouldn't claim to be the type of person who can preach on this. Perhaps actually I think I would claim that I'm the kind of person who can preach on this, because I'm sitting here fucking preaching on it. But I think I have a unique perspective in this regard, because I was born into a financially substantial situation. My father owns a construction company. As a result, I grew up working on construction sites, and I don't think it's any mystery most people who are working on construction sites, working manual labor, are not in that same situation. They certainly weren't born rich. So I got a relatively broad perspective at a young age, both being born into wealth and also working with people who weren't wealthy. I also had a lot of friends in high school, because I grew up in a relatively affluent area, who were born also outrageously wealthy. And to some degree, you know, these individuals didn't have the same experiences that I had. They weren't exposed to the larger picture, the broader picture. They didn't see what poverty looked like. And I certainly haven't seen what poverty looks like in the context of like Africa. But I've seen what poverty looks like in the context of getting involved in gangs, growing up in the hood, and the situation that puts individuals in. So I have a broad perspective here. And so what the hell am I going to do with that? Well, I'm going to talk about, I guess, the problems of being rich with an understanding of the blessings that come with having these as problems that you get to deal with. Maybe something like that. I've seen the problems that come with not having money, and I've been able to recognize how fortunate I am to have the set of problems that I have. And I would say, for starters, if you are wealthy and you do relate to the problems that I'm going to talk about, don't use that. Don't enter this place of victimization because, like, oh, I was born rich and I had all these fucking problems. It's like, look, man, there's a whole world of chaos we don't have to deal with. So let's start from a place of gratitude. For those who aren't wealthy, it's important to recognize that shitting on the rich, shitting on those who are born wealthy, is doing you no good, because the reality is, poor people can't do shit about the state of the nation. Poor people can't change the world. Poor people, like, if you get wealthy, then you can, but you can't change shit if you don't have money. And if you're born into wealth, you have money. You have access to an unbelievably powerful resource that you can use to bring about the kinds of changes that everyone wants to see in the world. I think we can all agree the world is fucked right now. And it's been fucked for a long time. It's always been fucked. It will always be fucked. But right now, I think we're in a very tense time, especially in America. Wealth disparity is increasing. Working conditions are shit. Well, working conditions have certainly been worse in the past. However, we have this problem in America where people who are materially well off, maybe not to the extent that the wealthiest of the wealthy are, although this actually extends to the wealthiest of the wealthy, people who are unbelievably material well off, who have all the comforts of the world, are committing suicide at just outrageous rates. And I remember seeing a video of a tribe in Africa who was, running around barefoot, and they were going out and hunting every day, and they bring back their food and they dance around the fire, and they're like, hey, let's go, we got food, happiness is acquired. They were talking to, these Americans were talking to them. They were like, do you want to go to America? Would you want to come to America? Or why don't you want to come to America? Oh, as if maybe they were giving them the opportunity to leave their poverty. And these people were like, why would we want to go to America where people are jumping off of buildings? Like, you people are insane. You're killing yourselves. And I think that exposes the radical flaw that comes with this conception that material well-being equals emotional well-being. And I remember in my econ class in freshman year of college or sophomore year, I was taking this class and these guys were like, dude, the thing that they taught was literally material well-being equates to emotional well-being, spiritual well-being equates to happiness, right? They were like, you can assess the happiness of a nation based on its material well-being. And they had an argument that they put forth, and the argument was solid, but I just think that general experience speaks for itself. Some of the wealthiest people I know are also some of the most demented people I know. Demented is a weird word to use, but they are demented, and a portion, deranged. They're spiritually wounded, and these spiritual wounds they're inner demons. And like when I say like demented, deranged, all these things, they're demonic, and whether it's metaphysical beings that we're talking about here, or simply psychological processes, doesn't really matter. The things that they do are evil. They're compelled to do evil things, and I don't know where this comes from, but you know what, that's a side tangent. Let's forget that. Maybe it'll come back, because I think that when wealth doesn't face their inner demons, doesn't deal with their psychological damage, and doesn't develop a profound understanding of what's meaningful and good in life and doesn't have a clear differentiation or discernment between good and evil, I think the wealthy do fall into evil, and I think that's a very significant reason as to why the world is in the state that it is. I mean, people are being spoon-fed and shoveled unhealthy food, or having unhealthy food shoveled into their mouths by the wealthy, and healthy, good food is being sold to foreign countries at far lower prices than it's being sold to our own people, because it's economically more beneficial for those who have that wealth and power to make those decisions. And I think those who had a discernment between good and evil would recognize that, I mean, you can argue loyalty and whether that's a good or an evil or good or bad driver, but I think those who are wealthy, if they had their allegiance towards God and not towards wealth and not towards themselves and not towards their egos, if they had their allegiance towards God, then they would sacrifice financial growth for the well-being of the individuals in our country. And for example, affordable food would be more available for more people. I think of more godly individuals, and I recognize that many of the individuals in power present themselves as conservative Christians, and I don't think that means shit. I think to have a relationship with God is something that transcends the title of Christianity. Although I do think Christianity can be a good institution to help you find a relationship with God. At least that's the way that I see it. Maybe I'm wrong, whatever. But I think that those who had a real relationship with God, I think if more of those people would take on the battle of putting themselves in positions of power, then we would have a much better world, obviously. Well, maybe that isn't so obvious. I mean, a lot of people shit on these ideas of God. I think rationality and logic can take over, and those who have a relationship with God are able to recognize the limits of their mind and are able to follow the, as my book Reality Transurfing calls it, the rustling of the morning star, which is essentially your soul, the Holy Spirit speaking to you and calling you to do something. And while rationally it may not make sense, when you follow those callings and you're able to quiet the mind and you can follow those callings, then you tend to do what is right and what moves the world towards a better place. So, you know, with that whole existential discussion out of the way, this is the impact that we have on the world. This is the impact that the wealthy have on the world. Again, how much money is the government funneling into war? And look, this is a whole other topic and it's political and maybe I shouldn't get into it, maybe it's not relevant, but war is complicated and the money that we spend on war is complicated. And I think it's naive to think that having a strong military is an ego thing. I hear this a lot. I live in Boulder, very liberal-ish place, very hippie place, and you know, it's all these, you know, they just want to have their big guns and be able to blow everybody up and be top dog. It's like, man, if you knew what it was to not have the power to defeat your enemies, you wouldn't be seeing it as an ego thing. And I think it's a luxury that we can sit here and think that the money that we spend on the military is an ego thing. However, I don't think that I think that we do spend our money unwisely when it comes to the military and the wars that we get ourselves involved in. I recognize that a lot of it is power and money motivated. And again, these are the kind of things that we, as those who are born rich, and I don't know if I was born into the kind of wealth that can reach those echelons. Perhaps, of course, I work my ass off, I'm doing the best that I can, but with that and a substantial amount of luck, I might reach those echelons. So, but even those who are born with great amounts of wealth beyond me can't deal with all of those things. But it is up to us who are born with wealth to do something about the way that the government spends its money, to do something about the education system, for example. The education system is fucked, and this is something I feel called to do something about. The education system is fucked, and I don't know where I was going with that. And it needs to be changed. And somebody who is born in the hood isn't going to be able to do something about that. They can accomplish a lot, and they can do what they can to take care of themselves and their family. If they can get out of gangs, if they can wiggle their way into some college in some affordable way, who knows, and not go into crippling debt, then maybe they can get to a position where they can do something about it. They can participate in that. But in a lot of these situations, it's like they've just got to do the best that they can to take care of themselves and the people around them, to get their family a nice home in a safe area. And with the current shenanigans of those who have money and power, that's becoming less and less doable for the common man, because housing prices are skyrocketing, because the wealthy are buying up all of the housing, and they're making it illegal to go and build more housing, because that would make their prices less ideal for them, less outrageous for us. And again, it's like well-intended individuals, godly individuals in these situations, in these positions, aren't going to do these things. They'll recognize what's good for the common man. And again, I say godly, not well-intending, and I correct myself there, because many of these people can be well-intending. It's very easy for our mind to use facts, real, true facts, to orchestrate a web of reason that justifies to us our actions, while also allowing us to act as if we stand on some moral high ground. And the ability, in order to overcome this, you have to have the ability to recognize to quiet the mind. You have to have the ability to quiet the mind, detach yourself from your thoughts, and listen to yourself. Listen to, not to yourself, listen to the Holy Spirit. Honestly, I think I'm gonna stop this here, and I'll split this into 2 videos maybe, because I feel like that ends the first maybe topic that I would like to discuss, which is why do the wealthy need to get their shit together? And it's like, well, this is why. These are the problems of the world, and those of us who are born into wealth, we have the opportunity to solve these problems. And most other people don't have the opportunity to solve these problems. And we have a responsibility to do something about it, and we are lucky enough to be in a position to do that, and we have a lot to be grateful for. Again, there are a lot of just gnarly problems that we don't have to deal with. So let's be grateful for that. And the process of making the world a better place is a fulfilling process. So even if you lose some money, even if you have to sacrifice some things that you might want or might like. Whoa, hey, where'd you go? I think I might have made this upside down. There we go. If you've got to sacrifice some of those things, it's like, so be it, man. Anyway, we'll move on. Oops. We'll move on from that in the next video. I don't know what it's going to be about, but I'll probably turn on my phone either right now or at some future time and just start yapping and see what comes out. But I felt good about that. I think I will post this. So I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, see you around.